Hey everyone, my name's Dave Nixon and welcome to another episode of the Peak and Flow podcast. I know it's been a little while. I've missed you as well. It's easy to say there's been a lot on. I think I have actually been the busiest I have ever been in my life, which I think is also quite ironic considering that I'm about to have my first child, which I'm sure it's going to slow down after that. So anyway, we're about 6 weeks out and it's been nuts. For a variety of reasons. But that's not what today's about. Today is about redefining health. And so I want to talk to a couple of key points here. One of what I would call an overarching message for what I do and for what Funk does and even Peak and Flow is encouraging individuals, people to redefine health for themselves. And so, look, I use this a fair bit. 20 years in the industry this year, I've trained about 10,000 people, something around that. And I've been fortunate because I've done so much small group coaching that I've just continually been exposed to people again and again and again. What that also means, though, is that I've had so many conversations. And so often it's just like a similar thing that I see repeat itself is that a lot of people are trying to fit trying to become healthy and fit a mold that somebody else has decided. That somebody else could be the government in relation to government guidelines. It could be, it could be influencers on social media. It could be their parents. It could be their spouse. A lot of the time, people are attempting to create this and define what health is for them based on all these other areas that end up sort of being around them. It's actually missing the core ingredient, which is them deciding and defining health for themselves. And this is really important. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't include the data, the research, input from experts, input from a variety of different people. What it means is that we should be continually testing and checking if what we have defined as health is still relevant for ourselves at the moment. And how often should we do that? Well, every single year, really, we should be doing that. And so the problem that we have here is that when people continue to try and fit a mold outside of their definition of what health is, and the majority of people have never decided that. It's just like the fucking message. Define what health is for you and then set up your life in a way to be able to live that type of health. Because what health is for me is not going to be the same for you. It's not going to be the same for everyone else that walks through my doors downstairs today. Now, here's the other thing is that it wasn't the same for me 5 years ago. And it won't be the same for me in 5 years' time because I'm at different stages of my life with different life circumstances, different goals, different responsibilities, and so forth. So it's really important that we learn how to actually define and then redefine what health is for us so we can meet ourselves at different stages of life. When we're trying to fit someone else's definition, it'll lead to disappointment. It'll lead to failure. It'll also, here's the worst one. If those two aren't bad enough. If you actually do achieve and complete external health guidelines, it leads to this sort of fake happiness to a degree where it's just like, I know I should feel better and I don't really feel how I thought I was, right? We put a condition, when I reach X weight, X BMI, X calories, X marathon, if you're over 30, that's a thing now, all sorts of things in that category. You achieve it and there's this quick hit of great, I feel amazing. And then kind of what's next? I thought this would be better. This is all it is. A little bit empty. So when we start to define and redefine what health is for us, we don't have this sort of, we're not setting ourselves up to failure. We're not setting ourselves up to, because even if you do achieve somebody else's guidelines, you're playing their game. And as long as you play someone else's game, you will never win. You cannot win someone else's game. And it's just the thing that I've seen the most in the industry, easily, hands down, one of the things I've seen the most. So the freedom of this is actually shifting our thinking about what the guidelines are and what we should be doing and what the research says. It's including that, integrating that into our approach. But fundamentally, it's going, I get to decide what health is for me today at this stage of my life. And that's a really important factor. Now, The reason being is that I have some people that come through and they want to train a couple of days, which is a life-centric approach, by the way. They're only wanting to train at the gym a couple of days so they can do other stuff outside. They're more interested in playing golf with their buddies and being able to be there for their kids' sport and making sure that they can actually play some sport with their kids and also be active with their spouse around the house, whatever that means. All of these things are actually more important, so they end up using the gym for that approach. It's called a life-centric approach compared to a gym-centric approach, which is when people are wanting to, get as fit as possible in the gym for actually just fitness sake. There's nothing wrong with either approach. One's just life-centric. It's actually going, I'm using the gym so I can do more shit in life. The other one's gym-centric, which is I'm going to use the gym so I get better at gym stuff, and that should flow on to life. So one's kind of 80-20, the other one's kind of 20-80 in relation to how much time is spent outside of the gym and how much time is spent inside of the gym. They're not going to get the same results in the gym, and nor should they. Because one is more based around that person's individual life. The other one's based around the standards and almost the sport of fitness, not just CrossFit, but in regard to marathons, in regards to functional training, in regards to powerlifting. And that's fine. It is literally, the whole idea is that the person gets to define what it is for them at that stage in life. Later on, the person that's powerlifting training 5 days, 6 days a week might turn into the person that's only coming twice a week and doing all the other things outside of life because their life conditions change. So health to that person at two different stages of life has to mean something different. So how do we go about this? Well, here's the framework we use. You literally draw some quadrants on a bit of paper. I do it every single time I do a podcast, but different quadrants. And in the upper left, you're going to write mental health. You're going to go mental health. And I want you to brainstorm all of the things that are important to you around, let's call it positive mental health, right? What are all of the things that help you maintain, that are important to you, a positive mental, and when I say positive, think positive momentum forward, but a positive mental state. That's your mental health. Then you're going to go to the box below it and you're going to write social. And this is all relationships. This is relationships at work, relationships with your spouse. This is relationships with your family and friends. You're going to then do the exact same thing. You're brainstorming, you're going, what are the things that are important to me that allow me to have a high level of social health? What is that? And you're brainstorming that. Then you're going to go to the upper right quadrant and you're going to write physical. And then you're going to go, what are all of the things that are important to me that I can do and that I do and that I want to do that feed my physical health, from training to going for walks to using recovery spaces like saunas and ice baths, to you can put intimacy. There's whatever physical things there that allow you to experience physical health. Then you're going to go to the bottom one, so the bottom quadrant on the right hand side, and this is environment and systems. And so in the environment and systems, we're looking at what are the actual locations? What are they like? What's your environment at home like? How do you set that up in a way for you to make sure you've got health in the environment at home? What about workplaces? What about family networks? But what about the systems? What systems do you have in place to make sure that you can sustain this approach and sustain the other three quadrants as well, so that you can literally have continual health? So now we're looking at mental, social, physical, environmental, and sustainable health. You've got literally 4 quadrants. You brainstorm through each 4, and then from there, put that aside. You're going to include that into your next thing. We're going to call this 1-4-50. Okay? We're going to go, what is your theme for the year? This is 1. What is your one theme? If you were to have a theme for this year for you, what is your theme for this year? Now, my wife, as I mentioned, she's about 6 weeks away, hopefully, from having our first child. Her theme for the next year is going to be different to what her theme was for last year, for an obvious reason. So because of that, it's healthy to go, hang on a sec, what's the theme for me over this next 12 months? What is the season of, right? Season of challenging my status quo, the season of cooking meals every single night wherever I can. Like, what is the season for you? Is this a theme of going, and for me, I'll give you a share for this. For me, it's a theme of just like brutally and utterly backing myself with everything that is important to me. That is the theme. So as soon as I'm like, oh, I'm doubting something or whatever, it's just like, nah, not aligned with the theme. Mate, you got to lean in. So what's your theme? The 4 is, what's your quarterly checkpoints? So what quarterly checkpoints do you have to be able to not just measure that theme, but are going to allow you to actually be like, cool, what am I working towards over this next 12, 13 weeks? Because a quarter technically is 13 weeks. So being able to see that allows you to go, right, and now that can be an event. It could be like, well, I'm going to book in for a powerlifting meet, or I'm going to sign up to a sporting team. It could be a checklist that you go, well, over the next 13 weeks, I want to make sure I do one 5K run a week. And so I'm going to make sure I can tick that off. That the plan is that we've got 13 over the next quarter. So if I miss 1 week, I have to do 2 the next, right? Whatever the case might be, what's your quarterly checkpoints? Right? Could it be a holiday? Could it be you and your spouse spending some time together and having a day trip somewhere where you can then literally go over this and redefine health with each other and look at your goals together? And then lastly, 50 is actually 52, give or take, but it's a perfect repeatable week. What is your perfect keyword here? Repeatable week. The week that you can repeat. So what's your baseline? Because once you've got your baseline, you start basic and build, you're able to add things as you go. Not what's your perfect week, what's your perfect repeatable week that'll allow you to meet towards those checkpoints that is going to set you up to be congruent and consistent with your overarching theme. And so this here, you're looking at this such a simple framework of going mental, social, physical, environmental health. Let's make it sustainable by going 1, 4, 50. And from now, there you've got this capacity to go, I'm redefining health for me. And really, your redefining health is coming off the back of what your theme is. But from there, you can look at it and go, well, health to me is, and then insert what it is for you. Because it's going to be different at 20, 25, 30, 40, 50. Make sure you're meeting yourself there. You're not going back into the past and grabbing a younger version of you with different life conditions, different responsibilities, and trying to live up to that now. It will not work. Setting goals on your past does not work. Setting goals on your future does. And on that note, team, I'm done. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you pass it on to someone else that you think would also enjoy this podcast. You can get a copy of my book, Money Yourself, anywhere online that sells books. And you can find out more about functional fitness at funkfitness.com.au and all of our training and workshops and immersions at peakandflow.com.au. I'm out. I'm done. Until next time, peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.